Good morning, everyone. It's Patty in the AM. Today is Monday, June 3rd, 2024. And first and foremost, a happy birthday to my sister Susan. We won't speak of her age today, but we want to make sure we wish her a happy, beloved day. It's a beautiful day. And thank goodness she's still here with us. So today, I'm going to talk about my post today, which is Be the Leader. Dare to be Wise. This is by Oren, who the passage comes from the book series, the Earth series done by Sanaya Roman. It says, I'll begin again, be the leader, dare to be wise, dare to be the one who is most loving, compassionate, open, and vulnerable. Set the example. Do not wait for others to be open and wise first. You will soon discover the power of one open, wise, and loving person to transform the entire universe around him or her. So, if I were to ask you, what does it mean to be vulnerable? Sometimes, I guess I could even use myself for an example. Just doing a series such as this, I guess there could be maybe negative feedback or ridicule or, criticism. But even that is okay. I'm just here to share a thought, my experiences, and how these passages are experienced through me, what they mean to me. And so to me, anyone can be a leader. But I've found that through time, it takes a lot of experiences to be a very vulnerable, wise, and knowledgeable leader. And when I speak of those thoughts, I get the image of, we've all seen the Buddha, the big jolly man who's got the big belly, and he just has, not much clothing on, some jewelry maybe, but he's got the greatest smile on his face because he's just watching everyone. He's observing. He's not having opinions or being critical or anything like that. He's just happy. And for me, from my experience, the reason he's happy is because he understands that everyone's just here to experience. We're all having a human experience. And that thought brings me to a deeper thought, that something that comes with wisdom is, I think I brought it up before, there's a passage in the Bible that says, "Forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they do." And it's funny because I've actually had people who get frustrated with me and say, yes, they do. They know what they're doing is wrong. But maybe it's say if it's something illegal or something like that, they don't realize maybe that what they're doing is actually wrong against themselves. They're not living up to their value, their worth, the possibilities or what they could be. Of how all these things could, whatever it is that they're maybe doing illegally, could come to them with great ease if they used whatever it is that they came here to use, which is what someone might refer to as gifts. And what do I mean as gifts? If, say you have an illness, and that illness brings you to discover maybe a hidden talent in you. Maybe it's not hidden, but it's something that if you go through time, you'll know that everyone was always saying, wow, you're an amazing seamstress, you're an amazing artist, you're an amazing singer. And as much as you might think that, you could be, you think, oh, it would never happen for me, But you don't know until you try. You don't know until you start applying yourself and just kind of trying it out, And maybe the first few experiences, might not be good, but keep doing it. If it's something you enjoy or it makes you feel more expanded or more, open, and just allows you to feel yourself, to be yourself, keep trying. You never know. It's funny because even when I started this series, I was having problems with the sound, the volume, and there was a few different thoughts that were coming to me. One was the ability to listen. What does it take to really listen, to really hear sound? And my first thought is sometimes we have to be really still. And I thought of when I go to sleep at night, I like to listen to something barely audible, like barely, that you can barely hear it, so that it's so soft that if I fall asleep, it won't wake me up. But it also makes it so I focus in and hone in onto what I'm listening to a point of falling asleep. It's almost like somebody telling you a bedtime story if you're a child, and it's a nice soft voice. And so with that being said, the other thing I found out is it was just a trial for me as well, to see how much do I really want to do this every week. Is it something that's just a passing thought for me? Is it something I'm willing to go through the efforts of just kind of experimenting and seeing what it is? I almost went with a whole new sound system. And I thought, no, it's got to be easier than this. And sure enough, it was. It was easy because I finally realized that, it's just my speakers underneath the iPad being blocked. It wasn't anything to do with the volume being up or down, or it could have been. And anyway, so back to our discussion about daring to be wise and the wisdom and the vulnerability. Where does it come from? For me, my personal experience it reminds me of years ago, I worked at an insurance company, and I'm not going to say where, but it was a really good insurance company. I loved being there. I met some great people there. Just a wonderful experience. And I remember we would sit in these cubicles, and we'd have people right on the other side of us that could kind of hear our phone calls sometimes if we, of course, if they weren't on the phone at that specific moment. And there was a young man, not young, but he was probably like in his late 20s, and to me, that was young. But, because at the time I was probably about 40. And it was funny because after he had been listening to my call, and I didn't know that. And he's like, oh my gosh, he goes, I want you to be my therapist. And all I was doing was life insurance. And it was funny because he had heard my story, part of my story, about what I had experienced in life, because I was speaking with a client who had a lot of, had recently lost a loved one. And, I had shared my experience of how I got through it, of how I had to understand why those who come to us and those who leave us are there to work with us. I mean, even though their physical body seems to leave us, they're still with us. They've never really left. And anyone that's ever lost someone very dear to them, if you allow yourself to even think about them, it's almost like you can feel a warmth come around you. Or you'll get a little sign that you've equated to them being here. Maybe it's a cardinal, maybe it's a cloud, maybe it's a specific car or a four-leaf clover. It's to tell you that yes, they are here. They've never left. And actually, when they leave that body form and they're in spirit, they're closer now than they ever were or could allow themselves to be in this real life and in this body. It really compacts us. And so back to the wisdom. I had written down a few points because I can get lost in my thoughts sometimes and not stay on topic, but that's okay. Because sometimes I'm better when I just speak what they can term as off the cuff. It's just whatever comes to me. But so what I was going to bring up was, it was weird when I never know what I'm going to talk about really, or I kind of will use an Oren passage, but I don't know for sure what I'm going to talk about until it seems like just before I come on. But this morning it was like the tail end of my dream. And the tail end of my dream, it was about one of my siblings was in the dream with me, and they were saying about, about alcoholics, and less like, oh, this is so disgusting, and just like our father, and it was also, gosh, it was like, how can you be around certain people, and not that they were, not the alcoholics, but they might be relatives, they were so mean and everything like that. So I guess that's a good topic to talk on, because my father was an alcoholic, and I was very young when he passed. I was 6, but I know from some of my older siblings that he could really lash out when he was drinking. But I mean, he wasn't just somebody that drank a beer a day. My mom would say he would drink a quart of vodka a day. it's not a surprise that he would die at 41. But think about coming as a child, and most of us, if you're listening to me, you're kind of aware of the fact that maybe we did come into this life, and maybe we did choose the parents that we chose in this life to come to for the wisdom and knowledge and experience. So what does it teach us if we come to parents who might drink, or maybe like my mom, I believe that she was more the savior, more willing to almost, like if my father did it or said anything, she was always willing to respond. And I find through my own experiences, like if you come from parents that one of them was alcoholics or just both of them maybe, you'll start seeing those experiences in your life as you're growing up. Maybe not alcohol, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's just some kind of addiction. But if we're growing up in a household where we're used to watching one parent calm the other, whether it's through taking on the wrath ourselves, or maybe we might even grow up being a bully who challenges or fights everyone who seems to try and put us down. They're all traits of children who were raised in a home that was maybe alcohol abuse or addictions or emotional abuse, any of it, We might come to be a child that is a people pleaser, just always trying to get someone to like us or love us. We don't understand yet that no one can like us or love us until we've learned to do that ourselves. But if we come into that family, we have no idea. So you might ask yourself, why would I choose those parents? Why would I come into a life that was so hard, that was such a struggle, that you had to go through so much to learn, wow, I have value, I have worth, I am an amazing being. And it's not only so much that you go through those experiences to learn that about yourself, but when you learn that about yourself, you see the beauty in everyone. And a part of that is when we see the beauty in everyone, we'll watch it expand. There's a quote out there that says something, I can't quote it or verbatim, but it's something about there's good in the worst of us. Who says that? I don't know. You can comment if you like, but there's somebody that's, there's good even in the worst of us. But I learned through time that no matter what someone has done, what their experience is, it's to always see good in them. What is good? Because when we focus on good, we allow ourselves more good in ourselves, but also the person before us. It's definitely a mirror. And speaking of mirrors, sometimes people think that the mirror before us, it's not me because I don't act like that. And sometimes, you don't understand the mirror. Think about a mirror. When we stand in a mirror, it's almost reverse. It's not like a perfect mirror. It's reverse, upside down. It's however which way we're standing in it. So it's not always as it appears. It makes you dig a little deeper. So I do a lot of one-on-one with people, and I see all different types of people, all different experiences and different journeys. It's amazing, And for some reason in this lifetime, I've always been the person that somebody's ear could be falling off, but I just don't notice it. I just see the person as a whole. I don't know why I'm like that. I just am. Recently, someone dear to me had talked about, maybe I need therapy. And they wanted to, see if their, benefits covered it. And I says, and I know I've been doing this now 15 years as like a company, so to speak. But I've done it my whole life. As any of you who know me well and have known me a long time, they'll say, wow, you've always had such wisdom. And I'm like, really? It's hard to see ourselves as we're growing up. But they had said to me, about, seeking some counsel, and I says, well, do you want my advice? And they said, yes. I said, if you must seek therapy, do your best to find someone who doesn't blame others, who helps you look at yourself and understand why you've chosen the life you have and what it was going to teach you in this life. We're here to have experiences, to gain wisdom, and to, once we understand the reason for having these experiences, we can be in a position to help others understand their experiences. And, that's talking about application of the wisdom. When we get in a position like that, we no longer throw stones at others. We no longer, we just, for some reason, we just see the value in others. And why? Because we've learned to see the value in ourselves. There's something about it, and I'm telling you it's true. And let me remind you, yes, if you can hear a cat in the background, it could get a little silly here, sorry, but I can hear the cat in the background now. So the dog's ears are perked up because they're both 3, and oh my gosh, it can get a little pandemonium here. But anyways, back to our thought. So those attributes or those qualities that we've restored in ourselves, the worth, the value, the knowing, is when we actually really apply that wisdom. We no longer get frustrated with people because we see them. And maybe, just maybe, when we see the beauty in others, it's because we've had to, in some way, shape, or form, the experience we're seeing another go through, we've been through it ourselves. I still remember years ago, I was, these different jobs we have. I was one of those people. I'm sure you are too if you're listening. I wanted to, I'll get back to my thought, but when I was a kid in school, I wanted to be a doctor, a nurse. I wanted to be a psychiatrist. I mean, I really was passionate about it. But it was a funny thing, I'd go to school and get into college and something kept circling me back. And, so I would end up going into liberal arts trying to figure out, all right, maybe it's not that. But I'd still feel so strongly about it. And I even got one degree, and then I went back, and because I wanted to be a doctor. I wanted to get into that field, the medical field, and my mom got sick. She didn't last long, so she passed within 3 to 6 months of her diagnosis. So I dropped out of school. I still had to work and pay for my apartment, so I still had to work and make the money. My mom, being near my mom and having some time with her was more important, of course. But it was another way to steer me away from the medical field, and it's interesting. I think it's interesting. But it's because we never, ever know what we're supposed to be doing sometimes. We're just kind of having these experiences, and that's what it was for me. It was a journey of experiences trying to know and figure out, who am I supposed to be? And I really didn't know. But I didn't know at the time, forget them, Father, for they do not know what they do, that I didn't know. I really thought I wanted to be in the medical field. So I ended up getting a business degree, which is funny because later on in life I would have my own business. But I would need that degree to understand, to apply myself. So back to where I was going, it's understanding and knowing, it's just part of the journey. Like I needed all those tools in my basket to become who I am now. So even in doing like something like life insurance, what is becoming an agent to sell life insurance? You have to be, number one, you have to have the ability to listen. You have to have the ability to come back around and redirect. You have to have the ability to be vulnerable. You have to have the ability to, no matter what they've been through, state the facts of the purpose in their call to you, because we didn't cold call. These were people that really wanted life insurance. And so it wasn't, thank God I didn't have to go through that experience. I'm not good at, I could sell something that I believe in. So I did believe in life insurance because if you've had children or had anyone dependent on you, you do want something to buffer, the time lapse when you lose a husband or whoever's helping you create income for having children. Anyways, back to the thought. So what I wanted to get back to is the forgive them, Father, for they do not know what they do. You could even use that series of events. And so I've worked with so many different clients who have had so many different histories, whether they've, had a life of doing things illegal. And being illegal means that could be anything from harming another to whatever it might be. And maybe they've served their time, and I can't, talk about those things, but in some way, shape, or form, just like in the Bible, he who was not sinned, let him cast the first stone. And if you're unsure on that one, we should look it up, because it speaks value to me. It speaks volume. It speaks a lot to me, because each and every one of us has missed the mark. Because I learned a long time ago, and maybe I've talked about it before, I'm sure I have. My mom, she was born in 1933, and she went to classical high school. And in that time, they learned, Latin, root meanings of words. And her big thing, I still remember about words, was that we need to go look it up in the dictionary. That we don't know the true meaning of a word until we know the root meaning of the word. And do you know, I believe it's Latin or Hebrew. I think it might be Latin, it might be Hebrew. But the meaning of the word sin is to miss the mark. If you go look it up in a dictionary, or not dictionary because we don't do that anymore. It shows my age there. But on the internet, the true meaning is to miss the mark. It shows a archer, pulling back the arrow and just missing the target. So basically, just allowing yourself to understand, oh, I missed. Kind of just like when I first started doing this series. I missed the mark, the volume. I had to work with it. And eventually, I did get it on target. Hopefully, the sound's working today. But if it's not, that's okay. You know what? Because tomorrow is a new day to begin again. Let me just see if I had any other notes here that I did want to discuss. I do not believe I do, but if there's anything you want to discuss, anything about, why would I choose the parents I have? What is the meaning for me to have these parents? And let me just touch on one more thing, because I come from a big family, and we're all different. So in other words, we all didn't come for the same experiences. Gives you something to think on. So that's why I don't want you to blame your parents. I don't want you to blame the people in your life. I want you to take a good, deep, long look at yourself, because we all have the wisdom within us to understand our experiences and why we chose them in this life. And the other thing I'd like to bring up, and I've probably brought it up in some of my other sessions, is look up near-death experience on YouTube. It's an explosion of people coming back and telling their story now. Whether it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, more and more people are sharing these experiences, and a lot of what comes up is how they did choose these lives, and how it is for the experience, and how, more importantly, how loved we are. If you had ever known the experience of love from beyond, that feeling of warmth, sometimes we get it. I know I said I was dumb, but I guess I'm not. The experience, we can sometimes sit in, maybe like if you've ever been in a Reiki circle. If you're not sure what Reiki is, you can look it up. I believe it's spelled R-E-I-K-I. If you've never had that experience, go to a circle. Sometimes they hold them for just like donations, but to feel the love. Sometimes you'll feel the warmth come through your center. And sometimes we can get it if we've lost a loved one. They might come back and visit us, and we'll feel the warmth. I had a friend tell me that when he was a young boy, he felt it being in the church. He felt the warmth of all that is just flow through him. It brought him to tears. I can tell you about my own experiences. I've definitely had many. But it always reminds me that warmth of love, it's beyond, and it always reminds us to come back to center. Be the love that we were meant to be. It's within us all. So I'm going to be off on my day today. I have a full day. I love you all. Find beauty in the day. It's here. I love you.